The leader who keeps coming back from election defeats, from corruption cases and from grave strategic mistakes. Benjamin Netanyahu is arguably the biggest comeback kid. But that's not necessarily a good thing because his comebacks have come at a cost. A cost not borne by him, but by innocent people in West Asia. First, some background. Benjamin Netanyahu has pitched himself as Mr. Security, the leader who would always protect Israel. But that image took a beating on October 7th last year. On his watch, Hamas attacked Israel. They killed more than 1,700 innocent civilians, also took hundreds of people hostage. Immediately, Netanyahu's approval ratings plunged. Only 15% Israelis wanted him to keep the job. The rest wanted him to step aside, to resign. So what did Netanyahu do? He went rogue, even ignored his most important ally, the US. Their President Biden had set many red lines for Netanyahu, like don't invade Rafah, don't attack civilian infrastructure, and don't hold up humanitarian aid. But Netanyahu ignored all of it. When the US negotiated a ceasefire, he rejected that too. Many Israelis wanted Netanyahu to take the deal, especially the families of hostages. But he was defiant. He said the war would go on. Then midway into 2024, he expanded it, the war. Netanyahu began targeting Iranian assets in the region, even took out some Iranian commanders. This triggered the first ever direct attack by Tehran on Israel. Again, Netanyahu was unfazed. He killed the Hamas chief in Tehran and he killed the Hezbollah chief in Lebanon. The US had explicitly warned against that last operation, killing the Hezbollah chief. They feared that killing Nasrallah would trigger war. So what did Netanyahu do? He did not tell Biden at all. He ordered the strike from New York on American soil. He used American bombs to kill Nasrallah and then he informed Biden afterwards. Talk about utter disrespect. Netanyahu has played Biden like a fiddle. Just consider the recent ceasefire call. 12 nations came together to release that statement. It asked Israel and Hezbollah to stop fighting for 21 days. Privately, Netanyahu said okay, but when the statement was released, he backtracked. He said there would be no ceasefire in the north. For good measure, he also killed the Hezbollah chief. And the strange part? These rogue tactics are helping him. Assume that general elections are held today in Israel. Polls show that Netanyahu's party will emerge as the biggest. He may not win outright, but he will be the biggest player. Around 38% Israelis now support him. That's more than double from last year. Even his rivals realize that the tide is turning. One of them, Gideon Sa'ar, has joined Netanyahu's coalition. It takes his strength to 68 seats in Israel's parliament. That's 68 out of 120 seats in the Knesset. Now, just to be clear, this does not mean the war in Gaza is popular in Israel. Most Israelis still want a hostage deal. Yesterday, a major protest was held outside Netanyahu's residence. They asked him to end the war in Gaza.
We came to the house of the Prime Minister of Israel to tell him that we expect him to turn the military achievements into a deal that will return all of the hostages, 101 hostages, back home.
So they're saying end the war in Gaza, but attacks elsewhere are popular in Israel, especially in Lebanon, attacks in Lebanon. Hezbollah have been firing rockets at Israel since October last year. As a result, 70,000 Israelis have been displaced. For them to return home, Hezbollah must be dismantled. Hence, this newfound support for Netanyahu. Not many leaders could have pulled off this turnaround, but Netanyahu did, mainly because of two reasons. Number one, his appetite for escalation. Most countries in the world condemned him. His allies criticized him, yet he pushed on. He knew that he was killing innocent civilians in Gaza. Still, his strategy did not change. And reason number two, his understanding of American politics. You see, Netanyahu has spent a lot of time in the US. He's even studied in American colleges, so he understands Washington well. He knows which buttons to push. And that's why he ignored Joe Biden this whole time. He knew that it was election season in the US. The Jewish vote was always going to be crucial, so Biden simply could not abandon Israel. Netanyahu knew this, and he used that situation to his advantage. Like I said, he is the ultimate survivor, but history may not be kind to him. More than 40,000 Gazan civilians have paid for his comeback. Who knows how many Lebanese civilians will? Netanyahu's hunger for power has pushed West Asia into a wider war. It's a survival built on others' sacrifice.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election. Explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.